So you want to start a farm business, but what's the most common reason new farmers quit? It's not money. It's not exhaustion. They love the work until the work breaks them. And the thing is, most of that exhaustion is self-inflicted, bad decisions made with good intentions. After interviewing hundreds of farmers over the past decade, I've seen a clear pattern. The farms that burn people out share 6 operational mistakes. Every single one is avoidable if you see it coming. Today, we're breaking down the 6 farm mistakes that burn you out before you break even. I'm Diego, Diego. Welcome to Modern Grower, where we talk about building a profitable farm business, not just a farm. Let's go. The number one, by far, too many crops. Most farmers think more varieties means more sales opportunities. The data says the opposite. This is the most seductive farming mistake. You want variety. Your customers seem to want variety, so you grow 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 different things, and then suddenly you're managing 30 different planting schedules, 30 different pest profiles, 30 different harvest windows, and you wonder why you're going insane. Every crop that you add is a new system to manage, and systems take time, attention, and expertise. Spread across too many, you master none. When I look at the profitable farms, they do the opposite. They pick a focused crop list, often 15 to 20 varieties, and they grow those exceptionally well. They perfect them. They grow them to the maximum genetic possibility that those crops can grow. They build systems around them to manage them, and those systems create efficiency. Remember, focus creates profit. Variety, although fun, creates chaos. And I know most people don't want to hear this. The seed companies for sure don't want you to hear this. The fun side of you doesn't want to hear this. But that's just the reality. Less is more. Less is easier. The math. Let's do the business breakdown. The odds are a few crops make up the majority of your revenue, and many are simply dead weight. Lots of effort for little return. For example, you have 20 crops, rank them. The bottom 20 probably don't make much money at all. But do you actually know that? The move. Let's find out. Look at last season's sales. Identify the crops that generated the most revenue per bed. Cut the bottom performers. Gone. See ya. We don't want to be ya. Your goal isn't the most diverse farm stand. It's the most profitable one. Remember, you're in business to make money, not to grow the most stuff. The mindset. Cutting crops feels like losing options. It isn't. It's choosing to be excellent at a few things instead of being mediocre at many. That's not thinking small. That's thinking like a business owner. And that's the fundamental shift that most growers realistically need to make. They need to go from growers to business owners. Might sound harsh, but it's reality. Number 2, misjudging and underestimating how much time it actually takes to do it all, because you're going to do it all. Most farmers think it's just planting and harvesting. That's maybe 40% of it. The rest, irrigation setup, bed prep, weed management, packing, delivery, record keeping, customer communication. The growing part might be less than half the job. The rest is just operations. This is factory work in the field. And when you understand the full operation, you'll start to realize that you're underestimating everything because tasks pile up. You fall behind and quality drops and stress builds. The solution isn't working harder. It's planning more accurately. Build a weekly schedule that accounts for every task, not just field work. Know your labor hours per bed and know when you've hit the point where you need help because trying to do everything yourself past that point doesn't make you dedicated. It turns you into the bottleneck. And bottlenecks stress out. Bottlenecks aren't nice to their kids. Bottlenecks get divorced. You don't want to be a bottleneck. Number three, ignoring your soil. Manna from heaven. This one won't hurt you in year one. It hurts you in year three. New farmers focus often on what goes in the ground, seeds, transplants, amendments. They spend less time thinking about the ground itself. But soil health is the foundation of everything. Poor soil means lower yields, higher input costs, more pest pressure, and more time fighting problems instead of growing food. Soil testing, crop rotation, cover cropping, composting. These aren't optional add-ons. They're the long game. They're insurance. The farmers who invest in soil health early spend less money and less time fixing problems later. Short-term thinking costs your soil. Long-term thinking builds it. And once your soil is degraded, you can't buy that back easily. You can't fix it instantly. It's going to take time. So don't ever let it get to that point to begin with. In the business world, successful companies follow this principle. Invest in infrastructure before you need it. Don't wait for your server to crash before you buy a backup. Here's the farming translation. Invest in your soil before your yields drop. Don't wait until your beds are underperforming to run a soil test. The cost of prevention is always lower than the cost of recovery. Whether it's your soil or your body, it's the same. The farmers that resist this are the ones that are entirely focused on this season. The farmers who build wealth are the ones farming for next season, and the one after that, and the one after that. Number four, assuming good weather. Ha ha ha. Weather will always be nice, right? Every farmer plans their season around ideal conditions. That season doesn't exist. Full sun, adequate rain, no late frost, no hail, no flooding. Why would we get any of that? So we build our whole plan around it. And then reality shows up. Mother Nature crashes the party, and weather is the single biggest uncontrollable variable in farming. And the farmers who survive long term aren't the ones with the best weather. They're the ones who planned for the worst weather. Crop diversification helps, season extension helps, redundancy helps. None of them are exciting, and all of them keep you in business. Remember, hope is not a management strategy. Hope is not an insurance. Prayers are not insurance. You have to be proactive to insure yourself against the inevitability that nature and the weather will throw at you. The math. Let's do the business breakdown. Crop protection comes in a variety of forms, from frost cloth to quick hoops to caterpillar tunnels to hoop houses. They all protect your crops from potential destruction. That's the difference between a setback and an ending of a season. Plus, they all double as a form of season extension, possibly enabling you to sell for longer and at premium prices. Crop protection and season extension are one of the few farm investments that pay back very, very quickly. So you get your money back real quick. The move. Before your next season, identify your 3 highest revenue crops. For each one, write down what happens if this crop fails. If the answer is, I don't know, for all 3, then you have a risk problem. The mindset. Planning for failure doesn't mean expecting failure. A pilot plans for situations that go wrong, but they don't expect the plane to crash. Planning just means making sure one bad month doesn't end your season or your year. That's not pessimism, it's professionalism. Number five, we know you're a beast. We know you can GSD, but burnout is a big reason why many farmers fail. And this is the one nobody talks about, at least until it's too late. New farmers, new business owners are going to wear every hat: grower, marketer, delivery driver, bookkeeper, mechanic. And they do it 7 days a week because the work is always there. The weeds don't take the weekend off, but you need to. Burnout doesn't announce itself, it shows up. It crashes the party. You stop enjoying the work. Decisions get worse. You cut corners because, oh, I'm exhausted. And eventually, the farm that was supposed to be your dream farm becomes the thing that you dread, or maybe your kids hate it, or maybe worst case, your wife or your spouse hates it. I've watched this happen to the smartest people, the most talented growers. I've seen these people go from nice and pleasant and enjoying life to frazzled, fried, and hating life. Talent, kindness, smarts, they don't protect you from exhaustion. This is very real. Be careful of this. It will strike you unless you take breaks. No one's immune to it. The math. Let's do the business breakdown. Burnout doesn't show up on a balance sheet. It shows up in every decision you make when you're running on empty. Miss market days, drop customer relationships, crop decisions made from fatigue instead of data. These all have a dollar amount attached. And in the areas that don't. For example, maybe your personal life, where it's often costing farm business owners friends, family, and marriage pretty much everything. The move. Schedule one full day off a week. We're not asking for much here. 1 day off a week? It's not negotiable. Put it on the calendar now. If you think you can't afford a day off, that's exactly why you need one the most. The mindset. Rest isn't the opposite of productivity. It's what makes productivity sustainable. The most successful farmers, the most successful business owners that I've talked to all protect their time off. A rested farmer makes better decisions than an exhausted one. That's just the truth. They'll make better decisions if they're rested every single time. Number six, haha, I can do it myself. I don't have experience, but this is the big mistake that everybody brings up, starting without ever working on a farm. You've watched videos, you've read the books, it doesn't matter. This is a foundational mistake, and everything on this list will get harder without it. Most people who dream about farming picture the harvest, the beautiful, being in the fields, running around with their kids, barefoot, just into nature. But they don't picture the 14-hour days in August, all the broken equipment, that customer complaining every single week, the crops that don't cooperate no matter what you do, the crops that don't germinate, the weeds are taking over. Oh my God, where did all this grass come from? The vision of farming is beautiful. The reality is muddy boots, weeds, problem solving under pressure, and physical work that never stops, regardless of whether you're tired or not, regardless of whether there's a holiday or not. It's an intensity that most soft-handed office workers didn't even know existed. If you haven't experienced that firsthand, you're not ready to bet your livelihood on it. Work on a farm for a full season before you start your own farm. Not a weekend, not a volunteer day, a full season. From first planting to last harvest, you'll learn more in those months than any course, book, YouTube video can teach you, including this video. I can't tell you how many times this has came up in interviews. How many successful farmers credit a lot of their success to working on someone else's farm first. It may seem like you're standing still or even going backwards, but you're making progress and laying the foundation for future success. So when you start in year one, you can get to year two that much faster instead of being stuck in year one or going backwards from the beginning when your own money is on the line. Get experience somewhere else first. Just do it. At the end of the day, that experience won't just teach you how to farm. It'll teach you whether you want to or not. And that's worth finding out before you write a single check or sign a lease. 6 mistakes, all operational, all avoidable. Grow fewer crops, plan your time honestly, take care of your soil, prep for bad weather, protect your rest, and get real experience before you go all in. None of this is complicated, but it all requires treating farming like a business, which it should be, not just a passion project. You're not a gardener anymore. You're running a business, folks. Which of these reasons was hardest for you to hear? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear it. Now go build a farm business, not just a farm. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm Diego, Diego. Thanks for watching. And until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.